3.SCREECH, VERMINKING, known also as the Rat King, is the legendary head of the Shadow Council of 13, and the greatest vermin lord of all time. Among the children of the Horned Rat, his was a legend that one day the 13-headed one would rise. It was said that this Rat King would usher in a new era, bringing closer the day when the great Horned One would come forth and the entire world would be made into a nest lair of ruination. His tale began long ago, in a different age of the world. The nascent race of SKAVEN had only recently discovered a huge warpstone meteor interred in the sundered mountain called Crippled Peak. It was then, and remains to this day, the largest deposit of that coveted substance yet found. The SKAVEN, however, were not the first to lay claim to it. Crippled Peak was the domain of the father of necromancers, the great Nagash. He had turned the mountain into an undead stronghold, and his shambling minions mined deep underground, extracting the warpstone for some fell purpose of the necromancer. So it was that the SKAVEN made war, bursting into the lower mines of Nagashizar, or the Cursed Pit as the Rat Men came to know it. An endless battle of attrition began, with the SKAVEN pitting their vast numbers against a foe that could never be slain. The war stretched into years, then into decades. The Council of 13 craved the limitless power offered by the Warpstone, but no matter how many warriors they ordered into the conflict, they could not break the stalemate. For his part, the great necromancer could find no way to drive off the SKAVEN that infested the tunnels under the mountain, and so was unable to bring his own dark plans to fruition. In the end, Nagash offered an unholy pact with the Council of 13. In return for peace, the great necromancer would supply the SKAVEN with warpstone mined below Crippled Peak. After much deliberation, the council agreed and claw marked the pact. In truth, the council desired all of the warpstone, yet even their reserves were finite. This compromise at least offered some return. Nagash soon set rotting emissaries to the Council of 13. He offered more warpstone if the SKAVEN would lure green-skinned tribes into the Cursed Pit. The council agreed, but also redoubled their number of spies, as they were intrigued about what their foe was plotting. At first, there was little to report. However, it soon became obvious that powerful magic was at work. Storm clouds of energy revealed a spell that would reshape the world itself. The Council of 13 hastily convened, for Nagash's great ritual was underway. Through their scrying orb, the SKAVEN saw what they feared. Far to the south, an innumerable legion of undead was flowing north like a river of bone. millions of restless dead strode relentlessly towards Nagash in perhaps the mightiest army the world had ever seen. Before that host, the living would be snuffed out like a candle's flame in a black whirlwind. For the first time, the Council of 13 voted unanimously. They had to stop Nagash. Unsure if their weapons could harm a being of such stature, one of the council suggested a blade of purest warpstone be forged, and he oversaw that work. And so it went, with each member contributing to the task at hand. Finally, at last, council members sent spies via secret tunnels to deliver the fell blade into the hands of an unwitting pawn. The plan worked, but only barely. Nagash was cut into 1,000 pieces. Even in defeat, the great necromancer had lashed out at his foe. Far away in SKAVEN Blight, the Council of 13 was struck with the arcane feedback of that spell. It was so potent that 2 of the Lords of Decay had dropped dead, blood spraying from their eyes and ears. Yet it was over. The most powerful necromancer the world had ever known was stopped. The SKAVEN scurried to collect the pieces of Nagash, taking them to the warp forges to destroy them. Without his great will, Nagash's legions were no more than bones in the desert. The SKAVEN grew strong and proliferated. Deep they tunneled under the World's Edge Mountains, establishing many lair nests. In Nagash's absence, the SKAVEN had been poised to claim swaths of the surface world, and the Horned Rat was pleased. Yet his pride soon turned to wrath, as petty rivalries and internal strife bled all momentum from the SKAVEN's progress. In anger, the SKAVEN deity plucked up each of the Lords of Decay, placing them in a dark hole within his realm. There, they were rejoined with the members of their council who had been killed by Nagash's spell. For the Horned Rat had debated how to reward these supplicants. How long the Lords of Decay remain in that pit was unknown, for time passes strangely in all the corners of that shadowy limbo. In that hellish pit, there was nothing to sustain the fallen Lords of Decay except the scraps of failed plots thrown to them by the Horned Rat. So, day after day, year after year, the disgraced Lords of Decay could do nothing but gnaw upon missed opportunities, point claws at one another, and bicker. In the end, the Horned Rat relented. Besides, he was fond of his children, flaws and all, and since then, no single council had surpassed the deeds of that banished group. With an enormous claw, the Horned Rat drew forth his errant congregants. What emerged from out of that pit, however, was not 12 Lords of Decay, but a single entity. A hideous amalgamation of the entire Council of 13. Twisted and tail-locked, they were now one squirming creature. The Horned Rat looked over the creature he had wrought and deemed it would not quite do. With a searing bolt of black lightning, the Rat God formed the twisted shape into a form more pleasing to him. that of a Vermin Lord, and with a final, vomitous belch, he anointed it with a portion of his own godly power. Horns still sprouting and twisting, the Vermin Lord rose from this baptism of filth, and thus was Screech Vermin King born. Vermin King was a Vermin Lord like no other. He incorporated within his being the stealth of Clan Eshin, the arcane talent of the Grey Seers, the technological insight of Clan Scrag, the flesh-crafting skills of Clan Molder, and the warrior ambition of the Warlord clans. Although Clan Pestilence had not yet been formed at the time of Nagash's fall, the forebears of their founders were upon that Council of 13, and they too now resided within Screech's twisted body. In this manner, Vermin King bore great knowledge of disease, along with a burning zeal to spread that corruption in the name of the Horned Rat. At long last, after so much time in the Black Pit, Vermin King was free. He glared into the mortal realm, scratching at the ever-thinning walls that separated the shadowy realm of ruin from the world of mortals.